Absolutely. How's FLA?
Good. We might be finally cooling down a tiny bit. So that's the main challenge this year.
Amen, brother.
So you follow any football teams up there in particular? Or?
I'm a fair weather fan, my friend. And and I watched the 15-minute summary of the game on YouTube, and that's how much of a fan I am, whatever the games that are happening.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I'm pretty similar. Our town kind of revolves around football because I'm in a college town, and so the UF game is this weekend. So I feel like the traffic already ticks up, believe it or not.
Yeah.
People coming from out of town.
The electricity must be just insane.
From when they visit, or is that what are you saying?
No, just college town, man. Am I doing that right? Is that Gators?
Oh, the fan electricity. Other talking about. Sorry, I've been reading about.
No, I know you got hurricanes and all that.
That was you had the Gator chomp, man. I need to give you props. That was cool. Of course, we don't get to do it very often these past few years. Unfortunately,
you miss Tebow.
Yeah, we've been missing him for a long time. Let me tell you.
And Aaron Gonzalez.
But anyway, yeah, that was a brain story right there because they said he had massive concussion damage to his brain when they autopsied him, as I recall.
That brain bank in Boston.
Man,
I wonder what the update on that is, because you just see in the news all the time, these players that are running into problems, and they say, just send my brain over to Boston.
Now, there was a recent study, I have no doubt, so I think both could be true, but a recent study seemed to argue, and it was, a mainstream university, a lot of these players might have been facing dementia even if they hadn't played, that they are of a genetic predisposition.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that happens. It's associated with lower socioeconomic status. There's all kinds of studies coming on right now that if you were raised poor, it's hard on your brain. I'm sure everything's more stressful. So to some degree, some of this may not be the game, but you're right. I mean, they're even seeing concussions go up in women's soccer. It's the fastest growing concussion. So hopefully there's stuff we can do to help people with this stuff, because
we got to stop the header.
Yeah, the soccer header when they hit it with their head. Yep. And they don't want to do that. I had a parent comment on my wall. I put up a story about how the headers are bad for soccer kids. And she's like, every time this is brought up, nothing gets done. So we got Dr. Mari.
Hello. What are we talking about? Can I call you gentlemen?
We're talking about, huh?
Call gentlemen.
You can call Anthony that.
What did they call me? I had to mute something. What's that?
A gentleman?
No, I mean, I joked with Jay and
funny.
And Pete. Whenever I said gentlemen, they're like, "What? We're not gentlemen." I'm like, "Okay."
They do. They both. You guys are similar, Pete and Jay, in that you will. Jay's always like, "I'm just a technician," and Pete's always, "I'm just a video editor." I've noticed that.
Yeah.
So,
where's my monocle when I need it?
Yeah. Okay, so pardon the interruption. What was the important stuff?
Dr. Mari, well, Pete may have stuff and we'll questions, but we were just talking about concussion risk and how even female athletes, female soccer players, it's the fastest growing sports concussion risk. And I had a parent comment on my wall. Specifically, what we said is this parent said, this gets raised all the time and they never do anything about it. They never stop the headers where you hit the ball with your head. Because guess what? A study found that all the players had elevated concussion risk except the goalie. You know why? Because the goalie doesn't head the ball. They kick it.
Very, very, very infrequently. Yeah. No, I think it should be absolutely banned. I think
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Ha. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, we've known this for years. I mean, we lost the opportunity in hockey where essentially we tried to make the game physically safer, but the fans just wanted the violence. But, soccer is not, or football as it's called in Europe, doesn't quote unquote suffer for that. So I think they could actually quite easily slowly train it out. There are many, many communities where it is not permitted to learn or practice how to head the ball until later. But, bottom up versus top down, right? If the major leagues still want this. One of it is there are two components. And here I'm going to talk, I always bring up gender, and I think it's very, very important. So one is the impact on the ball. Males have thicker skulls than females, no pun intended. Is that relevant? Not relevant. But one of the things that's extremely relevant in females versus males is literally anatomical or body structure. The majority of females, we have thinner necks. And if you look at jaw to neck ratio, majority of females, we just don't have that musculature. Okay. So in terms of how we get injured in the coup contre coup, even we can, throw in car accidents as well. The same thing, that massive whiplash, coup contre coup, and concussions, females get significantly more damaged. Now, what do we do about this? Change female sports, et cetera, or do what males have done for a long, long time, is if you're really serious about being a professional female attitude, you have to build up these muscles. We joke about these no neck males, who is in what. But if you're serious as a female athlete, chat with your coaches, your physio, et cetera, about how you build muscular structure to protect yourself. I know we're only talking about the brain, but the other thing is the knees of females. Oh my gosh, the ligament tears that can really destroy females physically for decades, and of course strike them back in old age is the knees. Males don't have that same issue. To the same degree.
That was very interesting, and it's cool that you've picked up so much about the concussion differences, or it's not just the brain, it's the rest of the body too impacts the brain, I guess, is the principle.
Females are smaller than males. Generally speaking, if you take a brother and a sister throughout families, we are smaller. We tend to be slender everywhere except in the hip. Now that also is changing over time in terms of natural selection. Oh boy, can I really get going here. In terms of sexual selection, females' hips in many cultures are getting more and more slender because of sexual selection, which is really bad, because essentially now we all need hospitals for childbirth. But I digress. But our center of gravity is very different, all of it. And most sport models are based on male anatomy, not female anatomy.
Gosh, I would love to know more about that, because one of the things I've always heard, you mentioned sexual selection, maybe making women's hips narrower.
Yeah.
I guess, not to be crude, but we've all heard of the Kim Kardashians and the waist to hip ratio. That's almost a little counterintuitive to me.
Yeah.
So I am Googling it. But I do know that women do have, issues. Something I heard is that running can be harder for women because a wider hip width is bad for when the foot lands at an angle. Is something I heard from I think a TED Talk, interestingly. So that's really interesting that that's all connected.
Well, if you're running like a cat, yes. But if you're running like a hippo, no. Okay. And females, in terms of the way we're taught to walk, we're taught to walk like cats. Male football players are taught to walk like hippos. Really interesting conversation. And again, I can go on and on about this, but my issue is that we genderize and we hold females back because of differences, instead of respecting it and differentiating, right?
Well, like in the military, you have a 30-inch step when you're in the military, and you go on long road marches, and women will get shin splints and actually get microfractures in their hip. But something like 20% of our graduating class got held back upon graduation because of fractured hips, just because of 30-inch step. And that was because I was at Fort Jackson, which was integrated male and female training.
Yeah.
And so because they had integrated male and female training, the women were disproportionately wounded and injured from the integrated training. Like, it was not a good idea. And at that time, Obama was really pushing for universal standards for male and females within the workforce, just like they are now. So it's the exact same conversation we're having now, just under Obama. And again, it was a bad idea back then too.
Yeah, well, I mean, and again, the issue is females are judged by quote unquote male standards. We'll judge males on female standards, see how much they don't match up as well in terms of pain is an obvious one. You want a real warrior, get a female, okay? Our pain tolerance is astronomically higher than males. Yeah, you wound a female with a sword or whatnot. She's.
I think you got to check out what's going on with the military and the news in the last couple of days.
Maybe don't. You'll get upset.
How timely is all of this? So yeah,
Anthony, get us out of trouble. Take care, Hida.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so Hida did. Thank you, Pete. She's asking when you hit high frequencies in beta, do we go above 30? How high? What is the upper limit? She asks.
What's your purpose?
Okay.
Depends on the person.
Yeah.
What are some purposes or persons that need to go higher versus lower?
People who produce beta spindles higher than 30, but you have to make sure that's what it is before you train it. And you're not just going to look at a QEG and look at colored maps and say, yeah, that's high beta, and train it down. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Also be careful of noise at that point. A lot of times people noise. Yeah.
Always.
Josh, is the idea there that you're catching like something else that's not beta, like a sharp transient or something like this, or
everything? There's 10 answers to that question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that things go sideways, and there's only one right answer, but there's an infinite amount of wrong answers.
Here we have one.
Raw data. No topographies here without the raw data informing them.
That's right. The raw data approach is what I respect you guys for. So Radar had a question too about is it a bad idea to do neurofeedback a day or two before a QEEG because potentially causing transient short-term effects in the EEG that may fade out? Is his first question.
Ooh, that's a huge. It depends. Again, yeah. I mean, if prognostic, it kind of tells you where you are and where you're going. So, it's kind of like, do you do something on an empty stomach or a full stomach? As long as you know the stomach is empty or full.
Yeah, that's fair. So it's as long as you understand what kind of recording you're looking at, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
We
do when we're doing like a full post eval where we're actually trying to have an objective comparison. We do have a gap between training and the QEG. Like we wait a week, sometimes two. So we give a nice good break from training, and sometimes it matters what the protocol is. It depends what you're using it for.
Yeah. So, I'm going to piggyback that one. When we do our super intensive, so this is when people come from out of country, out of province, et cetera, up, and they're up here for anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks, doing numerous sessions, even a day. Minimum of 3 weeks before you know where the brain settles. Absolute minimum.
I like that. Yeah, I feel like I've heard some clinicians say things like, oh yeah, any transient effects wash out in a few hours. And it's like, so it's refreshing to hear you guys say you have to have more respect.
Maybe, but I don't know for sure.
Maybe they do. Yeah.
I'm not betting on it.
Some do. I mean, if we look at marijuana as a really good example, I'm going to go to toxicity. Yeah, some things wash out within 3 hours, but I mean, it stays in the body 3 months. You can really see it heavily 3 days to a week. You can see the effects in the EEG, right? So as always, your answer is it depends.
Radar follow-up. What happens when you put the active and reference electrodes on the same spot or so close that they touch or nearly touch?
Radar. You know the answer.
What's that? They neutralize each other or something, or?
Let's just say there's contamination going.
A bridge too far?
Contamination. Okay.
Yeah, just don't
the
do
sample is okay.
Shared content means less content.
It's kind of like if you have any two electrodes next to each other, they're, you're gonna.
Yeah. Someone asked a few episodes ago about like, why do I always get like T6 low amplitude? And the answer that we didn't say that we should have said was reference contamination.
Yeah. I think that was our caller Lynn, if she's here today.
Okay.
So
but like after we got off, I was like, that's a reference contamination. Why didn't I say that?
I know Josh was really excited about it.
It's called end of day for most of us.
Yes, that's right. It's definitely like 11 clients in. I've been here since 6 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
So Jahan, and then we have some radar follow-ups. Jahan asks, for intense training, not sure what that means. For intense training, how do you evaluate or mitigate overtraining?
Very, very carefully. Fatigue, headaches, these are all signs. You have to learn to differentiate protective mechanisms versus doing too much. Super cautious anytime you're dealing with any form of head injury, encephalitis. You don't want to exaggerate any type of inflammation, etc. So you really, really have to screen your client. When you get somebody, a kid whining, oh, this is giving me a headache, versus, somebody with trauma, that it's actually a neurophysiological fear response, versus somebody where you are working the brain too hard and you've got to slow down or stop. We talked about other things. The models exist in other professions, going back to sport. How do you know if you're overtraining, right? Physio, how do you know if you're overtraining? Listen to the brain, just as you would listen to the body.
What's the Eureka protocol?
Yeah. From what I can tell, it's at least AI says that they're trying to increase 40 hertz gamma.
Oh,
I don't know the term Eureka. Is that something new somebody's throwing out there?
There's several links. It's a neurofeedback protocol, but they kind of bury the lead. Yeah. It sounds like they're trying to increase neurofeedback. Or sorry, 40 hertz gamma.
I wonder if the URL is available.
Yeah, I don't know that I can't post links. I can send it to you, Pete. I don't know if this will be helpful. Somebody did a study to increase female cognitive performance in 10 sessions or something. Anyway.
Female what, sorry?
Academic performance or something is the first Google link I found on Eureka protocol. So I'll try to get it.
Alzheimer's, etc. Okay, invention. I don't know. I mean, training 40 hertz is not somebody's personal invention, but
Jahan says it's a Jonathan Cohen's creation, BioExplorer program, but maybe not anymore.
Interesting.
Okay. And then Radar says Jay knows it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Jay knows everything. You got to ask him tomorrow.
Pete, I shared it in the studio chat.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So anyway,
okay.
Who's the next question here? Sorry, I was flipping around.
Well, Radar says it's like a squash plus gamma, and the way it's described is electrodes on either side of FPZ.
Yeah.
The link I sent, he says he shorts the electrodes. So I guess that means placing them close together or something, like he's saying. Yeah, that's the link I sent. Oh, that's Pete's link. Okay, got it. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, the thing that I've heard Jay say on 40 hertz gamma is it's seen in seizure foci, it's seen in thalamocortical dysrhythmia, and gamma is not supposed to be persistent. Jay, I think first he'll usually say you can't really train it. But he says if you could, you may not want to, is I think what he says.
I think he warns against training it from a theoretical standpoint. I think he is not saying that you can't train it as much as he's saying you can't teach people how to use it the way that other people are using it. So you can train to state, but you can't train to function. I think that's the phrasing he uses. If someone has some sort of special ability with gamma and they have some sort of special intuition, you can get somebody else's brain to mimic that, but you're not going to be able to get them to have that skill.
You know how you get more gamma radar? You suppress frontal alpha. So if rhythmic waves frontally will suppress, the same with theta, the same with gamma. If you have resting theta, you will have less task-related or theta, like theta, task-related theta synchronization, they call it. The same with alpha. You have a lot of frontal alpha. Alpha will not synchronize during a task. And I can send you the paper with that exact quote. They're inversely correlated.
I wouldn't mind that quote because I'm doing a class on it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you
the link. Because I may not have it.
I use that one a lot.
When we started out, when we
Yeah.
started out, I was fishing around for stuff to talk about, and how people are using AI for mental health needs. And one thing that came up was a thought partner. Like people journaling, they do a diary. It's like having your diary talk back to you. I just wondered if anybody was doing anything like that. I like AI because I can swear and be mean to it, and it does what I take out all my aggressions, Joshua.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the worst use then.
Not the worst use. Okay, I'm going to put in my little feminist plug here. One of the issues with swearing with Alexa and Siri, etc., is you're actually training a lot of males to go after a female voice. I think if it's equally balanced male and female, then not necessarily negative, but
this is what I was expecting, Pete. Thank you. Keep going.
Yeah, mistreating female machines as opposed to just a machine. Yeah. Anyways,
I would say even more broadly, while that is 100% valid, just like even having like an aggression without an accountability of a relationship is not what you want to be reinforcing. That isn't how the world is supposed to orient itself. But the world is providing us more and more outlets like that through social media. AI is just another exploiting mechanism for that. And you can add additional externalities to it, like a female voice, which are like, yeah, that's interesting, and that's another dimension to it. But the whole expression is all out of alignment of relationship.
Yeah.
And we've been moving away from that for like 100 years.
And I'm just going to, a lot of the things that I'm seeing currently in my practice, people bringing in AI that has diagnosed something, goes through their journals, and it's rather scary because people are taking this very, very seriously, or worse, when they send in a lot of information on their partners or their children, or their bosses or things. Garbage in, garbage out. I also think just completely riding on what Joshua was speaking about, the absolute depersonalization, and then we wonder why we have depersonalization. No pun intended at all. You literally are speaking to or feeling you're interacting with a machine. So loneliness, feelings of alienation, we can go on and on. I think it's bad news. We need face-to-face, heart-to-heart.
There is like AI is here to stay, just like every advancement. I said we've been doing this for like 100 years. It started with the inventing of, you can name the sewing machine, the washing machine. You can name the machines that automate things. They pull us away from each other and put us more into automation and put us further away from relationship. And we're not going back to the old way of doing it. We're not. So it's here to stay. And so the therapist role is actually to teach AI hygiene and to teach people appropriately how to use these things.
Yeah.
I like that. So Dr. Mari, though, and I like AI, I like social media, but particularly with social media, I personally know people that they are very nice and sweet in person, but on social media, they are sons of guns. And I'm sure I can be that way too sometimes. But I've noticed that it's almost two personalities. Yeah, Twitter, any of them, honestly, I'll see it. But also, Dr. Mari, I just looked up, like, does AI make people more or less mean to robots, let's say?
Yeah, well, I mean, Pete, I'm going to shamelessly promote my book here. It's called, we coined this, decades ago, the disinhibition effect. Okay, essentially your alter ego takes over. Now, there's a positive to that in terms of you can explore aspects of personality that you would never dare to or want to. I mean, the fun of it could be just the way you dress up as Halloween as a bunny rabbit, have an experience as a bunny rabbit, right? But it's when it starts to take over. The catch with the disinhibition effect is you don't see the people behind a screen as real people. Okay, you don't, there's an emotional disconnection. You don't care about hurting. And then it crosses over actually into gaining pleasure from hurting. When we would all be sociopaths psychopaths to the nth degree if we cause this amount of pain to people in our actual environment. Again, I can go on and on and on about this.
Yeah.
But both Anthony and Joshua, you were both saying, our issue is that there's no etiquette. There hasn't. I mean, even go back to phones. We had etiquette. Nobody phoned after 10 o'clock at night, even earlier. Nobody phoned at dinner time, et cetera, et cetera. And now there's no etiquette. The other is you also, there's no differentiation between the emergency and, hey, look I'm eating pasta for dinner tonight, right? And I would say the same thing in it runs through all of it. Who it needs governance, but who is qualified to govern?
Well, something interesting, guys, because I follow social media is becoming less social. It's becoming watching of things. We just watch videos now. So maybe that handles that one problem, creates another. But Dr. Mari, on the AI, I just wanted to say, I believe that if you hear a woman's voice and you become associated to being irritated at a woman's voice, I could see that impacting your life.
Yeah.
I did want to say a study came out recently that said the more people used AI, the more they viewed other people as being less human. It's interesting. And I don't know, is it because the AI is so intimate? I mean, one of the top uses for AI among teens, there was an article recently, was as an AI girlfriend or boyfriend. And that was incredible to me. But
not at all. I mean, it's kind of like, if you look at the guiding models, okay, you have this really, really lovely female voice. When you make a wrong turn, doesn't say anything, it just quietly redirects you. Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that the ideal passenger guide, right? So then what do you expect if you're driving with a female who, in the old fashioned, when you had the maps would be, oh, no, you're turning the wrong way. Okay. Even if you're saying that in the kindest way.
Yeah.
Okay. It's perceived as negative. And when do you realize, oh, no, you're turning the wrong way. Okay. You don't say, oh, darling, sweet friend of mine, perhaps you should reconsider,
Yeah. Right. The AI has no needs. You're making me realize the AI doesn't need you to keep your cool. It doesn't need you to validate it.
It's completely one-sided. It literally is all about you. Okay. I don't know, Pete, I'm going to go deep here. It's like the difference between an equal sexual partner and prostitution, right? It's all about...
Wait, eco what?
Sorry?
Eco what partner?
Equal.
Oh, equal. Okay.
Equal sexual partners, where you're both in it for sexual pleasure versus pornography when it's
Wait, is that like a booty call or a friend with benefits?
No.
I mean, we're digressing from my example here.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
But so we had a question. I wanted to say more, but Tree has a question.
Welcome, Tree.
She says, or they rather, could you talk about how neurofeedback can help teens with learning disorders, particularly learning problems in math, spelling, and writing, expressing thoughts onto paper? How is it possible for neurofeedback to help?
Oh, I'll take this one because I've literally been doing this for over 20 years now. Yeah, 25, over 25. Yes. Wow. I talk a lot about the difference between a learning disorder versus a missed learning phase. That's the first thing you have to establish. Then essentially you drive or train the part of the brain responsible or that mitigates the acquisition of the talent, the maintenance of the talent, the production, etc., as you teach the child how to do it. Some very, very straightforward protocols on that. That's one of the things we're really well known for at the Swingle Clinic, just kind of booting out the supposed learning disability, going after the missed learning phase. The other is, in terms of written output, kids aren't reading, kids aren't writing. Of course, they're having difficulty with written output. How do you learn how to ride a bicycle? Not by watching videos. Okay, there's no way you're ever going to learn how to ride a bicycle watching a video of how to ride the whole balance mechanism, the vestibular system, etc. If you don't engage it, there's no way you're going to learn. Same thing with a lot of academics, from math skills to reading, writing, all the classics. Mind you, alpha is highly, highly implicated in numerical processing. So that can be a little bit different in terms of what you look for. But you want to, the classic theta beta, theta SMR, anxiety-based learning issues where you're looking at theta beta and the occipit. I can go on and on. You really have to look at the deficit as per the EEG or the asset as per the EEG, and then look at the specific skill.
As reference map shows, low power on the flat map, but elevated beta posterior in S. Loretta.
I'm not sure what the question is here.
I think it's a continuation.
I think they're asking for insights, maybe, or
treatment insights to help academic performance as reference map shows low power on the flat map.
Yeah. If
you have I need a little help, Tree.
She wants to know more about the occipital observations, which I guess is the posterior beta in S. Loretta. She says, say more, please.
Yeah, well, I would, this would seem to be a contradiction, but not necessarily. Again, you can have insufficient or elevated slow activity in the frontal regions that severely affect the ability to learn. You can also have excessive fast waves in the occipit that contribute to feeling essentially anxiety, so high arousal as you're trying to learn. So they contradict, but that's precisely what the issue is. So you have to address them both. Now, if you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, and that there's not something different in the technology that's picking up different things. So I would look at both regions with the same piece of equipment and see what you're really dealing with.
Okay.
Another satisfied customer.
We hope. One thing Pete had sent us guys articles on AI being used in mental health. And I heard a really interesting angle on that recently, Dr. Mari and Josh too, from the therapeutic standpoint. They said a problem with using AI for mental health. They talked to some therapists and psychologists. They said it's a problem particularly for OCD patients. The article was all about OCD because they said when a person is ruminative and has looping thoughts, this was their clinical opinion of several people. They said you can't validate it. You do not want to validate. I don't know if my girlfriend's going to call. I don't know if my girlfriend's going to call, because it's never, they're seeking total absolute certainty, which they will never gain. And so this was several clinicians. And what is it? AI is trained to only validate on some level, or very much so. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there and say if that rings any bells or if that makes sense for you guys.
100%. I mean, one of the critiques I have had of colleagues in past are the individuals that see a client 3 times a week for 3 years, right? You're not getting anywhere, and perhaps you might be making the issue worse, right? A lot of the therapy chats, you can reach your therapist anytime any time of day for any reason as frequently as you want, you are not helping. Okay.
Wow.
You're reinforcing, as you said, the issue. You're completely disintegrating any development of resilience. I just think all of that is very, very negative, but it's a really good money-making model.
Dr. Marie, do you still use the original Swingle system for a neuroevaluation or a later version of it?
The cute answer is yes. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the original version, I mean, gosh, I think the published one was an N of 1,500. We're now past 10,000. So in the clinic, we are like up to date, like you wouldn't believe in terms of what we're doing. I might as well let the cat out of the bag. We're going to be coming out with a new version next year. So it's in the works. Who asked that? Have I talked to you before?
Jehan.
Yeah. No. So the new and glorious updated, but you know, anybody who's mentoring with me or anybody who's involved in any of the Grand Round groups, we've been using that for a while. So yeah, and what I love about it is essentially it's quick, fast. You can collect the data in 20 minutes. You can give immediate feedback, completely prognostic, not diagnostic, you know, as Jay always likes to say. It gets you on the key symptom points.
What platform will it be released on? Look at this. We're moving product here.
Okay. Well, I mean, right now you can use it through Thought Technology and Brainmaster through iPhone. Those are the only two Swingle approved versions. Okay, there are tons and tons of pirating out there. There are a few permissions being given, but they have not been validated in terms of reliability or validity. So I have to say that. So, but in terms of we're going to be working with those two. So Brainmaster and Thought Technology, and we're also going to be having a version that you're going to be able to use on your phone.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
How many versions you got?
Well, it's the same. It's just about the platform you can use it on.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to make a new one each time.
And who is updated? That's the big thing. I mean, most of the folks that claim to be using Swingle, and actually this is a huge compliment. The data is from 2015. What does that tell you? That it still has massive reliability and validity. So again, I'm going to pound my chest. When we do it, we do it. As I said, we've been in practice for almost 30 years. So our clinical data, what's feeding this is well over 10,000 brains we have in there. So.
And this is not Swingle, the Sonic, the sound, that's already an app, correct? Or phone app?
Yeah, yes. Well, that's also why our data is so strong on the app, is because it's being fed by real clinical data. This is not theory, it's clinical fact. So we know exactly what it does to what profile, etc. And this is why we're really, really promoting it for therapists to use alongside their neurotherapy to promote or propagate, potentiate the work that they do. And, I share, what it does, in terms of, literally what brain waves you're targeting, why, how, et cetera, what conditions you want to address. A lot of people are starting to use that, 10 minutes before. So essentially your client comes in 10 minutes early and you use the app to potentiate the actual session, and then individuals use it 10 minutes a day, every day at home. It's very, very powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff.
Anthony, order in the kitchen.
Yeah, Sonia has a question. I think she's a newer face around here. So thank you, Sonia. And she asked,
welcome, Sonia.
I was wondering how long each session of neurofeedback should be in order to have an effect guaranteed, she says. Like, what's the minimum, she's really asking?
I have a very strong opinion on that, but Joshua, do you want to go first? Because I've been...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have a complex thought on that. I mean, there's different types of mechanisms in the brain that respond differently. You can look at something as simple as Ruth Lanius's research showing that the placebo group and the control group deviated within 3 minutes of the first session. So you got training responses right out of the gate when you're training alpha. You got to look at Joel Lubar's work, and he says there's no response until you've done at least 12 sessions after, something like that, of doing SMR training, which people have challenged, I think, and have shown good challenge to that. No offense to the late Lubar. He did amazing work. But different mechanisms train differently, and there are different layers to potential non-learners. And so when we're talking about guaranteed, we're talking about, okay, alpha, pretty good at learning under the right conditions with a skilled provider. Sensory motor rhythm, maybe 15 to 20% struggle to learn that. Frontal, midline, tonic, theta, maybe 30% struggle to learn that. Like, we're just going off of research and maybe clinical experience. So if you're a provider, you're going to have a toolbox to try to approach something from different angles when you find a non-learner. And if you want to not fail, you got to have a few tools in your toolbox. And so you have to the question has to be addressed that way, because it's actually it's a little complex. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what I found is any session under 40 minutes, you might get good within session data, but in terms of, I say in session you want to push and then it slides back during the week. You push and it slides back. So essentially, to get progression, 40 minutes is a really, really good guide. That's what we found, again, over 30 years in practice. Now, it also depends on what you're doing. So, for example, if you're working, a classic, theta work for attention difficulties in children, we do 5-minute trials. You can't, or you never use absolutes, but we have found that if you ask a child to go all the way through 15-minute trials or 10-minute trials, they're just, they're exhausted. So, how many 5-minute trials are you doing within the 40 minutes? So it's not necessarily how much time the trial is versus the session time. So we're getting into it depends. But if you have, I don't like to use the terms passive and active anymore because they've been completely and totally bastardized. But essentially volitional and non-volitional, again, you have to be a little bit cautious. But when the person is actively involved in the feedback loop, so essentially eyes open, interactive training, 40 minutes, 5-minute intervals. If you're dealing with non-volitional, what we used to call passive, where you're not volitionally involved in the feedback loop. So we're talking about classical versus operant conditioning, that it's 40 minutes straight. So those are the two guidelines that we go over. But yeah, again, it depends on the methods, right?
I liked it. We have another question, interesting question from Jehan, who says, how important is it to feel a subjective difference during or soon after a session?
For the placebo, very, very important. And I would like to, I scream from the rooftops, placebo is not a negative effect. It's only negative if you use it as deceit. Being on board and believing in the process really, really can facilitate. And you can get anywhere from 10% to 30% on placebo, right? So if you have, 10 to 30% actual change or measurable change plus 10 to 30% placebo, wow, you're going to get a really, really efficient session.
Dr. Mari, I love that you mentioned placebo. A lot of the studies on antidepressants and whether they work, they do tend to find, let's say on average, let's say it's 50, 60% for people. But those same studies find that placebo worked for half those people roughly too.
More than half. It's oftentimes like 2/3 of the group.
It's even higher sometimes. And I think that's just the norm. this is no offense to any particular therapy, but I'll have friends who try lots of alternative therapies, and they'll say, I went once and my life is completely different. And it's like, I don't know if that was the treatment or placebo. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, Sonia has another question here. I thought interesting. She says, can neurofeedback be used in the evenings as late as 7 p.m. and still effectively train the brain?
It's like going to school late at night. You can still learn. It's just not the best.
I like that. That was cool.
For children, I used to do a lot of after hours work. Okay. And I actually started to refuse service to any child after 6 p.m. And one would even argue like after like even the 5 o'clock appointment. And of course, that's the one that all the parents want. The child is just too tired, period. So again, are you doing an active protocol or a passive protocol? If you are doing, conditioning wherein the individual is in a nice lounge chair and you're doing quieting protocols, there's an argument that, later in the evening, you're getting an extra push. We talked about the placebo, right? Some people are quieted down. So again, just think about the circumstance, the type of protocol you're doing. I would never work with a concussed client at that hour. I would never work with a child after a certain hour. Right?
Okay. So maybe drowsiness limits ability to learn on some level. We had another Jahan question. I'm not familiar with this. He says, could you elaborate on whether we are going for implicit versus conscious learning?
Depends on the brainwaves.
Yeah.
Both?
Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Both.
No, I think that's a simple answer. Both.
Yeah. Some brainwaves you're not going to be able to achieve, conscious learning. And some training mechanisms you're not going to be able to do that. And some you easily can. And it just entirely depends on what you're doing and how you're montaging what you're doing. Yeah. So like alpha training is very easy to consciously learn. But if you're doing alpha down training, you're really learning how to not try, which is very different than trying. But you're still learning how to do something specific, but you're learning how to not try. And I mean, it's just complicated.
How to let go, if I could aid with the phraseology.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. It's just complicated. And some things you're not going to have any conscious control over at all. And there's even some debate though, among like some of the more, slow frequency training, that maybe if you start young, you can retain some conscious, control of that learning. And that's why you have like Buddhist monks that can control their heart rate and blood pressure, for long periods of time, is because they have more, awareness of these slow cortical rhythms. So that's one theory.
I think I heard that SMR is another one that you can trigger yourself. I've heard that. I think Lisa Tartarin is speaking at Jay's conference in a week, so soon. And I've heard, and I think the blurb about what she's going to speak about talks about something to the effect of like tips and tactics to trigger the sensory motor rhythm. I swear, I think, but I've heard her say it explicitly. She mentions a patient of hers that said, I felt my Parkinson's symptoms coming on as I went to take the floor, and I did whatever they do in their head to trigger the SMR rhythm, and they were able to begin moving again.
So I'll tell like a mother, I'll say, imagine that you're looking at this screen that's giving you feedback. And imagine that your toddler is holding onto the monitor and you don't really need to act, but you think you might need to act. Like beta.
Yeah, stressful.
Oh, look, it's very wide and very colorful. All of a sudden I'm creating feedback. How did I do that?
That's funny. Yeah. Maximal alertness. Yeah.
So
alert readiness.
A week from today, we will be in Sioux Sun City, and
absolutely, I'm going to hang out with you. Great.
Try to do the Q&A from the bar.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
This is probably the first time I've ever traveled where I haven't drugged my family with me, so we couldn't.
We're gonna have a good time, Joshua.
Yeah, no one's ever actually gotten me without my family, so it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird. I don't actually travel without family, so I guess I'm just gonna like hang out with Pete because I'll be lonely.
You could FaceTime.
Yeah. Oh, I will for sure. I'm probably gonna play chess with my kid. We've got one of those physical chess boards where I can, message over my moves. So,
how good is chess for your noodle there, Joshua?
Well, I think it's sort of like one of those luminosity things where it's good to an extent. It's playing on neuroplasticity, but not in the same way that neurofeedback is. Like, it would not give it the same credit as neurofeedback. Doing brain puzzles, doing brain stimulating exercises are great, but that is not the same dimension. It's not the same depth as what we're doing for a career. I'm way more excited about what I do for a career than some of these, stimulating puzzles we do with kids. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, chess is cool.
In the luminosity has been debunked, false advertising, etc. A good game of chess with friends, yes. Friends, family, do it. But it doesn't replace therapy. But just like learning how to play the piano, all of these things, use your noodle. Good for you. Yeah.
How funny.
Maybe it's more about like the life lessons on like I can do hard things and I can overcome challenges. Maybe it's all of those messages, and maybe it's all more about the attachment and the family connections than it is about the actual mental exercises. For
critical thinking, I thought it was,
Well, that's what Dr. Swingle was saying is that's kind of debunked.
Well, that's exactly Joshua. Those are the studies that I wrote about in the book. In fact, when you look into it, all of these positive results were not based on necessarily using the app. Is that they were going to a community center, meeting other people, and that's where they were using it. So talk about confounding variables.
No lie. And sometimes I read research and I think that it's like, your controls are a national database, but what kind of clinic lets you do this study?
Yeah.
And
back to AI. This is the stuff that AI is plagiarizing and then adding to the pool of misinformation. So be really careful about it. Yeah.
Radar says that he says his experience with stuff like Lumosity is that it's very stimulating and sort of works, but the effects fade out if you stop.
Oh yeah, and I would say the effects are sort of shallow if you really understand what they are.
Yeah. Also, if you use it too frequently, it reverses. It's actually not good for you because you trip into the over arousal, et cetera, et cetera. Like anything else, if you enjoy doing it,
What if the benefit is the disequilibration of the challenge? And so if you get good at it, it's no longer doing its purpose.
I like that.
Or you get obsessed. Yeah.
There is an interesting study that's kind of old, but it was a kind of I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they found a trend that old nuns that were very, very active in the community essentially did not have symptoms of Alzheimer's, but they found evidence of Alzheimer's in autopsies. But it was like I said, but there wasn't any reported symptoms. Were they covering this up, or was it just really, really well managed as it was progressing? And there's some theory that if you keep yourself in constant disequilibration and new stimulus, that you'll have something to wire around and you'll anchor new neurons. Not to say that it saves you, but there was something interesting there. Something interesting.
And purpose.
Yeah, very much so.
And belonging. And individuals in modern, I'm not going back to the old, comments where they used to scrub floors with toothbrushes. But, a cloister of belonging, a sisterhood or a brotherhood, and purpose in the community. Yeah.
Agreed.
Wow, how interesting. Radar Asteroid says, dual and back, which is a cognitive task, I suppose I've heard of, fixed some weird attention issue I had, but dual and back caused a head pressure feeling, I think due to an over-aroused cingulate, and then the effects went away when I stopped training. So interesting.
Reinforcing everything we've been saying.
Yeah, it was cool. There is sort of a use it or lose it principle in the brain, and it reminds me a lot of I have some clients who are nutritionists and kinesiology, exercise science, and they'll tell you like the body gets good at what the exercise you practice the most. You have to practice consistently and often, but if you go too narrowly, you're actually more prone to injury. So if you just do So that's why they do cross training. Like if you only ever run, there's a theory that if you also do biking and walking, that you're going to be or swimming, less likely to be injured than if you just hyper focused on one. And that makes some intuitive sense to me. That makes sense. I think.
You saw that study that came out a few years ago that showed a meta-analysis on exercise and basically found that if you run for a living versus if you sit for a living, you basically burn the same amount of calories. And part of it is we're just very, very, very good at optimizing for our tasks, and that we're very, very, very good at robbing ourselves later when we do use more energy. And we're also really good at not using much energy when we're doing tasks that we're used to. And so it's like, again, disequilibration is the game, and disequilibration is the thing that people generally want to avoid.
Yeah, what is it? The principal muscle confusion. Remember that workout P90X? He said we got to constantly introduce new exercises to confuse the muscles. Yeah,
I'm going to CrossFit right after this. I know.
Oh, cool. Oh, that is an intense type of workout.
I know.
Yeah. The fun stuff. Not happy. We're talking about the same thing in different disciplines. I mean, even if we go back to the educational system, one of the things in upper education is you only study your discipline. That actually makes you pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell my employees to aim for the feeling of having homework due on Friday. Aim for that feeling, and then try to keep it present and learn to tolerate it forever. You'll be fine in this field.
Okay.
I'm glad how you didn't choose Monday. That's good. At least you get the weekend.
Monday, yeah. Right. You got to have a weekend. Yeah. But just that sensation of like pressure, that you have a responsibility that has to be attended to academically, because it's true. That is true. And it's never going to go away if you're existing in this field correctly.
Yeah.
And then just accept it.
I don't know. I mean, I want to, again, beautify the language here, in terms of pressure. Like, do not get in this field if you are not a lifelong learner. I mean, you have to, if you are not an internally curious person, do not get in this field, because you still, you have to follow it.
You'll love this. People reach out to me in my local community all the time saying, I'm a therapist. I did the EMDR certification last year. This year, I want to add neurofeedback to my toolbox. Can you help me with that? And it's like, no, I will not help you with that. like that is the wrong attitude. Yeah. You have no idea what you're trying to step into. And they will frame it exactly like that. And it just drives me mad. I can't stand it. You don't know what you're speaking about.
I really appreciate it hearing from all you guys. I have to step out or a little early, but I hope you guys have a great evening and everything. All right.
Good to see you. All right, Anthony. We're closing down the pizza ovens. We're going to sell some product now. Joshua, how's the workbook coming?
Good. I tried to get the recording of the frontal lobe disturbances workshop done Monday. It didn't happen. It's going to get done this Monday. And I'll probably doing all the editing when I'm flying, because I've got 4 business trips coming up. So hopefully all the editing will get done on a new laptop that I bought specifically to do video editing on. And
you're going to be with me next week. You're not going to do anything.
Well, maybe on the plane. You're right. I know. That's what I told my wife. I said, I'm going to tell myself I'm going to get all this work done, but then I'm going to hang out with Pete and not get anything done. It's probably true.
Dr. Murray, how are the downloads? What's going on?
Good. As I said, we've got the 3 apps. We have the sleep for non-restorative sleep and insomnia. We have the focus for the multiple causes and directives for focus, whether it's anxiety-based issues or distraction-based issues. And we have brain calm for quieting without sedation. So those are the 3 major apps. So available at Swingle Sonic. There we go.
As seen on TV.
Yeah.
Kids don't know what I'm talking about. Dr. Murray, Joshua Moore, thank you so much. See you in about a week, right?
You bet.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
All right, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Peace. Thank you all for showing up.
You bet.